You've just ordered a firing squad for 50 people and banished hundreds more. Their crime. It wasn't a cash grab, and it wasn't a power trip. Their only sin was literally just wanting to be happy. Let's find out exactly who you are today. This is you. Born in the ivory tower of a militarized state, the only child of the supreme leader, a guy whose stern mug is staring you down from every statue and dollar bill. While other toddlers are learning to walk, you're getting a crash course in human nature. Your dad sits you down and drops a truth bomb. You guys, you're basically a different species. He tells you happiness isn't natural. It's a limited edition resource that only your family can manufacture. The rest of the world is a miserable dumpster fire, and only under your brand name can people see the light. You grow up drinking this Kool-Aid. Every time your armored motorcade rolls through the capital, it's mesmerizing. Thousands line the sidewalks waving flags and tossing rose petals. You see faces lit up, tears of gratitude streaming down their cheeks. No sadness, no complaints, just deafening stand-level adoration. To you, this country is the Garden of Eden, and you're the chosen gardener. You look in the mirror and see a saint convinced your only job is keeping those smiles glued to their faces. You are the CEO of Happiness Incorporated. One day, teenage curiosity overrides your programming. You pull a classic stealth move throw on some peasant rags and sneak out of the gilded cage. You expect more paradise, but reality hits you like a freight train. The fantasy stops dead at the city walls. Beyond that, it's a total hellscape. Endless shanty towns of tin and cardboard. You see skeletal figures fighting to the death over scraps you wouldn't even feed a dog. You sprint back to the palace, absolutely shook, demanding answers from the big guy. Why is there hell on earth if we're the distributors of joy? Your dad doesn't lose his cool. Instead, he drops some twisted logic. He says the suffering isn't his fault, it's the parasites. He introduces you to the concept of happiness thieves. Ungrateful folks who decided their ration wasn't enough and started stealing joy from everyone else to hoard it. To prove his point, he takes you on a field trip to the dungeons. It smells like rust and bad decisions. There's a beaten man hanging upside down like a side of beef. Your dad points at this monster and tells you cold-bloodedly to save the patient, you gotta cut out the cancer. Bam! One shot. Lights out. Any normal kid would have PTSD instantly. But you're built different. Instead of horror, you feel a rush of clarity. It all makes sense. This isn't cruelty. It's necessary surgery. You're thrilled because you just found the cure for poverty. Simply hunt down and delete the greedy. At 20, the keys to the kingdom are yours. Dad kicked the bucket, so now you're calling the shots. You convene your first cabinet meeting to get a sit rep. One general, looking like a decorated Christmas tree, stands up. With unearned confidence, he tries to sell you a fantasy. He claims the economy is mooning, the vibes are immaculate, and the stats are off the charts literally because he cooked the books. You nod along, looking impressed. The guy relaxes, thinking he just secured the bag. But just as he winds up for more bootlicking, bang! You flatline him right there. His body hits the table, turning the war maps into a modern art piece. The room goes dead silent. Ice cold, you address the survivors. You tell them you're not some clueless Nepo baby stuck in the palace. You've been to the streets. You've seen the hunger. By hiding the problem, this guy was a happiness thief. You tell them loyalty is now measured by brutal honesty. The next general stands up shaking like a leaf and finally drops the reality check: the country is completely broke and starving. Armed with the ugly truth, you launch Operation Happiness Purge. Your dad's words are playing on a loop in your head. If happiness is a limited resource, then someone else is hogging the supply. Your logic is ruthless. The aristocrats and the 1% aren't successful. They're leeches who hijacked the nation's joy. You sign the executive order's total asset forfeiture. Mansions' offshore accounts all cease to be split among the poor. But cash isn't enough. You need a body count to balance the scales. You drag the elite to public squares for televised show trials. The charge, not fraud, but happiness hoarding. Their crime is simply having too much. Firing squads are working overtime shifts. As the bodies drop, The crowd goes absolutely feral. The poor, now flush with redistributed cash and thirsty for revenge, treat you like a rock star. They chant your name, calling you the living saint. Watching them lose their minds with joy, you feel a deep Zen-like peace. The blood in the streets doesn't bother you. It's just the bleach needed to scrub the world clean. You are 100% convinced you're the good guy here. However, the redistribution party comes with a gnarly hangover. The economy grinds to a halt. Hustle culture is officially dead. Nobody dares to produce an ounce more than necessary because standing out is now a death sentence. Fear of being labeled a hoarder freezes the markets and clears the shelves. To reboot the system, you install your master plan, the regime of absolute equality. You decide to murder individuality to save the collective vibe. From now on, everyone rocks the same scratchy gray jumpsuit. Everyone eats the same gray slop served at the same time. Everyone works where you say they work. You've essentially outlawed FOMO and envy by decree. Your logic is bulletproof. If everyone is a clone, nobody can want what their neighbor has. Happiness is now secure. But human nature is stubborn. Haters start whispering. They claim the rations are trash, that they're starving, that life is bleak. You don't see physical hunger. You see a moral glitch. You label these whiners as excessive demanders, defective units, still infected with the greed virus. To you, asking for seconds is stealing from the team. These dissidents don't need pity. They need a patch update. So you drag them to re-education camps, where hard labor will teach them to be grateful for the perfect equality you gifted them. But your dream of perfect equality turns into a logistical nightmare fast. Since everyone gets the same participation trophy, regardless of effort, human motivation just deletes itself. The grind set is dead. Factories flatline, crops rot in the fields and the state warehouses. They're ghost towns holding nothing but dust. The shortages hit like a brick. That fan club that treated you like a god, they're swarming the palace gates. And spoiler alert, they didn't bring flowers. They brought bricks, fists, and pure hate. They're demanding food and canceling you with a verbal violence that actually hurts your feelings. Safe behind your bulletproof balcony, you watch the angry mob and have a dark epiphany. You realize you got it twisted. Greed isn't just for the billionaires in silk suits. You look at these peasants and see the exact same rot. They don't value the equality you gifted them. They're ungrateful NPCs who refuse to share the burden. Instead of taking one for the team, they just open their mouths like baby birds demanding more, more, more. You conclude that the poor are just happiness predators in disguise. Their hunger isn't physical need, it's infinite selfishness. You feel totally betrayed by the very people you tried to save. If the mob is toxic and greedy, they don't deserve your gifts. Time to pivot. You decide happiness shouldn't be a basic human right for these beasts. It's an exclusive VIP experience for the certified worthy. With this elitist mindset, you break ground on the most ambitious project ever, the City of Light. Think of it as a gated community on steroids. Sky-high concrete walls, moats filled with death traps, the works. Inside, only the chosen ones get to vibe in a contamination-free, safe space. But paradise has a hefty price tag. To fund your walls and keep your private army on the payroll, you need infinite cash. You look at the starving masses and stop seeing citizens. Now you just see disposable assets. You ship them all to the mines. Men, women, kids, everyone's digging for diamonds under the whip. But wait, don't call it slavery. That's bad PR. With your marketing genius, you rebrand it as greed purification via labor. You tell them the sweat and pain is just a detox for their souls, punishment for the audacity of being hungry. While they break their backs, funding your utopia, you sleep like a baby, convinced you're doing them a huge spiritual favor by teaching them the value of forced grind. Finally, the City of Light is ready for its grand opening. It rises from the wasteland like a concrete miracle. In a flex of supreme generosity, you throw open the gates. Anyone can enter this artificial paradise, assuming they agree to your strict terms of service without reading them. You take a victory lap to admire your masterpiece. What you see hits the spot. Every resident is decked out in immaculate matching fits, moving with glitch-free synchronization. On every corner, Groups are hitting perfect choreo, with smiles glued to their faces like a TikTok trend gone wrong. No drama, no unique personalities, zero chaos. To you, this is peak happiness. You don't see fear or coercion. You see satisfying content. You tell yourself you were right all along. Freedom was a bug, and total control is the feature. Convinced you've cracked the source code of human existence, you tell your generals to scale up. The pilot episode was a smash hit, so the world needs a sequel. You announce the immediate construction of City of Light 2.0. To scout locations for the sequel, you pull an undercover boss move in the boonies. You expect the 5-star reviews your generals keep spamming you with, but stepping out of your echo chamber, you walk straight into a horror movie. It's not a reformed society, it's a hostage situation. You see soldiers forcing peasants into gunpoint karaoke, singing joy anthems. You see smiles that instantly glitch into sobbing the second the guards look away. Your stomach turns. You realize you didn't franchise happiness, you just mass-produced terror. Then comes the plot twist that shatters your brain. In a literal garbage dump, you spot a dirty kid playing with trash. No guards, no script. And the kid is cracking up. A pure, unfiltered belly laugh. A sound that has never existed inside your sterile City of Light. The truth hits you like a ban hammer. You realize your definition of greed was total nonsense. Real greed isn't wanting stuff. It's trying to micromanage how other people feel. You aren't the hero. You're the villain. By trying to force-feed happiness, you choked it out. You stole their right to be human, to cringe, to cry, and to laugh for real. You are the supreme happiness thief, a parasite feeding on freedom just to feed your own control freak addiction. You rush back to the Capitol high on the fever dream of a redemption arc. You storm the war room and start spamming commands that leave your generals absolutely shook. Open the vaults. Nuke the walls. Fire the secret police. You unleash a blizzard of paperwork, thinking you can speedrun forgiveness. You honestly believe a week of administrative kindness can hit the undo button on years of trauma. But you made a critical calculation error. Trust isn't something you can just patch with a software update. Once it's bricked, it's bricked. The people have officially muted your notifications. To them, every new announcement, good or bad, is just a trailer for more pain. When you shout, "Total freedom," they don't hear liberation. They hear, "It's a trap." Your sudden pivot doesn't give them hope, it gives them anxiety. They can't tell the difference between the poison and the cure anymore. They just know the hand feeding them is yours. Fed up with your endless social experiments, the city snaps. It's not a celebration, it's a full-blown riot. Sirens wail, smoke rises. The irony. By finally loosening the leash, you just gave the dog enough slack to bite your hand off. It's way too late to play the hero now. The roar of the mob gets closer, like a hurricane making landfall. But silence on the gun front. Your army, that perfect machine of repression, they've officially clocked out. They're done faking smiles. They're craving something raw, even if it's total anarchy. You sit in the dark of your office, lit only by the glow of the city burning down outside. No escape plan, no coward's way out with a bullet. Instead, you pour a glass of vintage wine. Steady hands. On your desk sits a yellowed piece of paper, the blueprint for Paradise City, you doodled as an innocent kid. You look at those crayon lines and crack a sad smile. You tried to gift them heaven, but you architected a literal hell. Dad's final lesson finally clicks. To let happiness flow, you have to unclog the drain. And you, with your obsessive control, you're the biggest blockage in history. The mahogany door explodes into confetti. The rebels burst in sweaty, armed, and furious. You don't flinch. You slowly spin your leather chair around like a Bond villain. You raise your glass in a silent toast to your executioners. You don't see hate in their eyes. You see karma. You accept the end with total zen, knowing that your death is the first act of authentic happiness you've given them in years. You are the necessary sacrifice, the final boss that has to drop so the sun can finally rise.